Alright, so this is going to be part 2 to what Deku had overhaul. So with that being said, I gotta say a few things. First off, I'm still looking for people to join the Discord so that we could have more people do or create OCs for my newest kind of project, which is a Black Clover kind of original story, kind of like UA Year 1 if you have been keeping up with that, I guess. So if you really want to help, then you go to the Discord and then put your OC there. We are looking for like members of squads as well as some Diamond Kingdom like soldiers. So if you really want to help out, you can go to my Discord and there you can make your own OC, since we still need a couple more, and there isn't really a limit on the squads, so we could make as many, or we could take as many OCs as as we can. Also, I like to say that I really do appreciate everyone who has been watching my videos. The last part really blew up. It got like over 1,500 by the time I'm reading or recording this, so that's been like around a day, and it got over 1,500, which is one of my fastest growing videos on the channel, so I really like to thank you for that. Also, I was gonna make a kind of 3k special, well, not 3k special, 3k thank you video, but when I recorded in Audacity, it just it didn't record off the right thing. It recorded off of my like laptop's microphone instead of my actual microphone thing, and the audio was really bad, so I didn't do that. I might remake it, I don't know. One last thing is that I might be going to California next week for like a little spring break thing, so it won't be too different since I used to upload really once a week around that time, depending on what video it was, but it might seem a little bit different because I want to make like 3 parts of this, pretty like not really 3 parts, yeah, it would be 3 parts, so the next part would be on Sunday. So with that being said, let's actually get into the video. So in the last, oh yeah, I forgot to say something. Some people say that Overhaul can like reverse like chemical changes and things like that, and when I was reading more into it, it is a bit of a debate in the My Hero community whether or not he can do something like that. So you guys can tell me if you want that. Personally, I want to have it as a kind of limit to him where he's not able to do something like that, where he wouldn't be able to reverse chemical changes and things like that. But you guys can tell me what you want down below, and whether or not you want him to have one for all, because if he were to have one for all, that's kind of one of the most OP combinations you could have. But then again, a lot of people like OP carriers anyway. So let's actually get into the what if. So last time we just got done with the kind of entry exams, so we would start off just after that and Deku walking into UA. So he would walk into the classroom and then he would see Bakugo. Like I said last time, he's not really friends with him. He really doesn't really like to acknowledge Bakugo at all, really. So instead of going up to Bakugo, or not really going up to, but even looking in his kind of direction, Deku would notice that he's in the room and just try to go to his seat. This is where he would get stopped by Ida after getting done yelling at Bakugo for putting his feet on the table. He would start apologizing to Deku, basically saying that Deku was a better student and a better hero for knowing or helping someone during the exam, and also knowing that there was more than one criteria for that. And Deku would be like, what are you talking about? And this is where Ida would start to explain a little bit more, and this is where Deku would be like, no, I didn't help because I wanted more points, I helped because someone was in trouble. This is where Ida would continue apologizing, saying like, yes, you're right, I'm sorry, right? And then this is Deku would just say, it's fine. And this is where Ochaka would come through and basically be like, oh hey, you're the kid, or like, you're the guy who saved me from the 0 pointer. And I know that the zero I forgot in the last video that the 0 pointer doesn't have legs but instead has tracks, so I know that. It was just a mistake. I didn't remember the lower part. It's been a long time, and most of the scenes that you see with it is the upper half. So I guess I'm sorry, not really. I don't know. But yeah. So after this, Deku would be like, "Oh yeah, that's me," and everyone would be like, or mostly Ida, and yeah, Ida would ask him what's his quirk, and a lot of people had a bunch of different good ideas. So I'll pull up like 3 on the poll. One was reform, the other one was I think shaping, not shaping. There was like another one. So the 3 that I really liked were reform, rearrange, and all over. So those are the 3. I'll put up a poll I think in this video, and then you guys can basically vote on the quirk name. So Deku would basically explain. For this one, I would just go with all over. So he says his quirk is called all over, and it gives him the ability to rearrange matter. And this is where Ida puts everything together, and that giant kind of statue that he saw of All Might, basically, this is where he gets really shocked, and he's like, "Are you the one who created that statue?" And Deku's like, "Yeah, that was me." And Deku, or Ida's like, "Your quirk is so powerful." And Deku's like, "Yeah, I guess so. I haven't really used it on something that big before. I usually only use it on like small things or to help people." And Ida's like, "To help people? What do you mean?" And he's like, "Yeah, I could use it to rearrange people's like entire bodies, to basically heal them, to put them into a similar state to where they were before without, injuries." So Ida's just amazed at hearing this, right? So before they could continue talking about this, and like at the same time, Bakugo's really angry that Deku's in his class as well as talking to people and socializing to that extent. This is where Aizawa would actually come in and basically tell everyone to be quiet as he gets out of his sleeping bag. He says that there's going to be a kind of test or a quirk assessment to basically see who would do the best and worst in this, and whoever were to do the worst, he would actually expel them. So everyone basically listens up because they don't want to get expelled. They all get ready in their kind of suits and go to the field. So at that point, he tells them which criteria they're gonna do and the difference between using your quirk and not using your quirk, with the idea of basically Bakugo using his quirk, throwing it, and then, or before using not using his quirk, throwing it, and then using his quirk to throw the ball. And there's like a huge difference between the two, around like 10 times. So we would get to the different events, and Deku, for the most part, he does a little bit higher than average, since he does have that kind of training, but he doesn't have any physical like quirks really, because Overhaul's quirk is more, I don't know what you would call it. I think it's called like a emitter quirk, not really something that would enhance you physically until like you fuse yourself with someone else. So he does higher than average, right? He would beat out a lot of the other people in class 1A that don't have physical quirks, such as someone like Kaminari or even Mineta in some cases. Not all, because Mineta does win the side to sides. So we would get to the final one, which would be the ball throw. So Deku, what he does is that he kneels towards the ground, and he has the ball in his hands, and he touches the ground with his other, and he basically makes the ground basically shoot outwards and hit the ball, but at the same time removing some of the matter from the ball, from the initial hit, and then adding the matter back in right after it gets hit. So what this does, it's kind of like when you play pool and you line up the kind of the stick into hitting the ball. That's kind of like the visual. That's what it kind of looks like, but at a different angle. So, and the reason why he takes out the mass from the ball is that to make it easier to hit and to go farther, he would add the weight. So he would get pretty far in this. I don't think he would get first place since he wouldn't reach infinity and it wouldn't go into the past the atmosphere. So he would get around, let's just say 500 meters. So that's a little bit less than Bakugo's, but it's a little bit more than everyone else's, because other than like Shoji and maybe like a few others, they can't really go past a normal human's like throw distance, especially since most of them aren't really built, I would say. So after this, they would get the results, and I would say that most likely Mineta would be in last place, but since this was really just a test, Aizawa isn't going to kick out any students. So after this, it would be like a couple days later, and everyone is told to, or gets their kind of hero costume. So I'm not sure what Deku should have for his hero costume. You guys can tell me as well. I don't know if I'm going to draw that. It does take a bit for me to draw, so maybe not, maybe so, I'm not sure. But yeah, after that, All Might would come through the classroom and basically say, I am here as your combat instructor. And this is where he would explain the next kind of assignment, and that is going to be the heroes versus villain kind of test, where one class becomes a villain and the other, or one part of the class is the villains and the other is the heroes. So they would do the kind of drawing at the kind of like testing grounds, where one side would be a hero or the other would be a villain. So Deku and Uraraka would get heroes, while Bakugo and Ida would get villains. So Uraraka and Deku would basically be on the outside of the building looking at the plans, or the kind of model of the building, seeing what they should do. So Deku basically tells Uraraka that he'll deal with Bakugo while she can go upstairs and basically try to get the bomb. So as they're kind of walking through, Bakugo would still kind of not listen to Ida and go for Deku himself, because he does have this kind of hatred for him in some sense. So basically when they would find Bakugo after him like basically blowing up a wall to get to them, this is where Deku would tell Uraraka to basically run and go for the bomb, and Bakugo would try to stop her, but Deku would touch the ground, putting a wall between her and Bakugo, which would get Bakugo really angry. He would start to go for Deku, and Deku would just touch the ground, and these kind of, not spikes, but basically kind of like poles from the ground would come out and basically hit Bakugo on the sides. They're pretty blunt, so they don't pierce him because Deku doesn't want to kill him, and this would basically push him to a wall and basically crack it a bit. Similar, I guess not similar, but so after this, basically Bakugo would recover and go for Deku. Deku will try to do the same thing, and Bakugo would anticipate it, blowing up the pieces of cement. So after this, Bakugo would get a few good strikes on Deku with his explosion, but then Deku would do even more with the matter that he would have. He would touch the ground and this would just swarm Bakugo from the ground. It would just basically go up and basically launch him into the kind of ceiling where he'd get hurt. And this is where Deku would just use his own quirk to heal himself. And this is where he would talk to Bakugo, and he would say, "Bakugo, you're just too reckless. You don't anticipate anything except for, that one hit. But you should have listened to Ida. If you guys were both here, maybe you'd have a chance, but with just you, that's not gonna happen." So Bakugo would be angry at this. He'd be super mad. So he would get back up after, getting launched into the ceiling, and he would back up a bit. And this is where he was gonna launch he would release the pin from his grenade gauntlets. He does so, Deku sees what's happening, and he actually puts up a bunch of walls up to block it. So after this, what happens is that the blast basically shakes the building, and they don't know what's happening. Bakugo's out of reserve fuel in terms of his grenade gauntlets, and I guess I only had one, since he only pulled one. So he would pull the second one, and Deku would do the same thing, put up a bunch of walls, and this would shake the building even more, getting Ida kind of off balance, and Ochako basically taking advantage of that. She would try to go for the bomb, but before she could, Ida would get his balance back and run over to the bomb and basically push it or get it away from her. So after this, Bakugo would just see a wall at this point that was blocking the attack, and before he tries to blow it up again, this is where the wall starts to move, and this actually hits Bakugo and slams him into the other wall, knocking him out. So after that, Deku would put the tape around Bakugo, getting him out of the test, and he would go upstairs to help Uraraka. So after that, this is where he would see basically Deku, or he would see Ida and Ochako, and neither of them are really kind of getting any headway in this. So he sees that Ida is running around, right? So he touches the ground, and he basically makes it not really stable. Basically, some of the tiles there are more elevated than others, and it's getting harder and harder to kind of run, I guess. So he's basically shifting each tile individually to make it very hard for him to run. I think eventually Ida would jump to basically get him more. Basically, it's more reliable to jump at this point, and this is where Uraraka would have the advantage, because after this is where Deku would use his quirk to launch Uraraka, and she would basically touch Ida, which would make him float and get him off balance, but he would still be holding on to the bomb. The bomb would land because Ida isn't really there to pick it up. Well, he is still holding on to it, but he is, without gravity, so he has no real control over where the bomb lands, and it would land near the middle of the room, and this is where they would basically touch the bomb and they would win. Ida would praise the two for being very creative on their ways of defeating him, and so would basically the rest. Well, not really the rest, but mostly All Might. So yeah, they would win. This is where I'm going to end the video. If you want another part, tell me down below. And if you made it to the end of the video, make sure to comment down CS at the end of your comment, or just CS individually, so I know that you support the channel. So remember to like and subscribe. if you want more videos of mine. And with that being said, this is gonna be in the video. So yeah.